Hello everyone, welcome to our mid-season premiere of YouTube Live. I'm Diego.
And I'm Alex here to wish you a happy Friday and welcome back. We hope you had a wonderful winter break. How was your winter break?
Doing pretty well. I mostly spent the time relaxing and spending time with my family.
That's wonderful. We'll start this week's YouTube live announcements by telling you guys that we are 93% of students that have uploaded their vaccine cards to the Daily Pass. If you have not uploaded the information, be sure to do it so that we can reach 100% vaccinations and uploads.
Uploading your vaccination records will help the school keep track of those who are and are not vaccinated. Moving on, here we have a chart put up by the CDC based on the effectiveness of masks.
If everyone wears at least a surgical mask, an uninfected person could get COVID from an infected person within 1 hour if they are within 6 feet of them.
So make sure you wear your mask and wear them properly.
And now, let's hear from Ms. Healy with some important news about mental health.
Hey, Green Design. Hope you all had a fantastic break. So, we are now in the month of January, which is actually Mental Wellness Month. Mental well being is so important because it helps us cope with stress, anxiety, and difficult times. But what does mental wellness actually mean? Mental wellness is very simply a state of feeling good, a good mood, good rest, good experiences with friends, good thoughts about yourself. But it's not always easy to feel good. So, I have 5 tips that I'll be sharing throughout the month to help you cultivate mental wellness. Tip number 1 is to give. Give acts of kindness, give a compliment, or offer to help others when you can. Giving your time, words, and presence is not only rewarding, but increases self esteem and happiness. And tip number 2 is to connect with others. Connect with people who make you feel valued. That can be friends or family, or maybe even reach out to someone who might be lonely. Positive relationships are so important for our well being. I'll go over more tips for mental wellness next week, but I want to let you all know that it's okay to not be okay. If you feel that you are struggling with your mental health, please come talk to me. My office is in D100. Happy Friday, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Healy. That information is very helpful. Moving on, seniors, for those of you who have not yet done it, don't forget to complete your FAFSA applications. Remember, the deadline is March 2nd, 2022.
If you need any technology assistance, please fill out the survey in the GDSA whole school group, and Mr. Ramos will summon you periods 3, 4, or advisory.
The fastest way to get assistance is to see Mr. Ramos after school in D203. Remember, you're responsible for your Chromebooks. Damages and loss can go as high as $200.
And now let's hear from our principal, Dr. Lepakis.
Thank you very much. I was doing some research just to make sure that I'm 100% up on what the rules and regulations are. Listen, we've had a very interesting first week, which is not over, because we tested yesterday and we had about, maybe 8, 9, 10 positives this morning. This is the way it stands. And I've had students in my office and I've talked to students individually or in small groups. And I will be bringing all the close contacts in. If you are fully vaccinated, you do not leave school if you're close contact, and you don't need a rapid test. A close contact who is fully vaccinated does not need a rapid test, unless in the course of time from today to the next time we do our PCR test, which is the nasal swab test, you develop one of the symptoms, fever, a cough, sore throat, nasal congestion, general body ache, diarrhea, or nausea, then you would take an antigen test, the rapid test, to give yourself the understanding, is it a cold or the flu, or is it merely one of those, or is it COVID? I will tell you that I was sick right after Thanksgiving. I missed about a 3 days worth of school, 3.5 days worth of school. And I tested on a Saturday through a drive-through at Kaiser and tested negative for COVID. And I tested again on Monday here when I returned and tested negative. So not every sniffle, nausea, body ache, fever, cough, sore throat, or diarrhea means COVID. However, if for you close contact folks who are fully vaccinated, I'm going to say that way all the time, close contact, fully vaccinated, you don't need to take an antigen test between now and the next time we PCR, which is next Thursday or Tuesday, unless you feel you have one of these symptoms, okay? That's it for the kids that I will be talking to this afternoon. Second rule, if you are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, we will then remove you from class and have you take a rapid test today. The day we take you from class, we take you over to Nurse Linda, and she does a rapid test. And within 15 minutes, we find out if you can return to class. You stay in school monitoring for symptoms because you are considered asymptomatic or having no symptoms. And in the course of 5 days, on the 5th day, you then take an antigen test again if you had remained asymptomatic to see if you actually were COVID positive asymptomatic. And then you will do your PCR testing as normal. For those students who have PCR tested and were positive and are now returning to school, and we expect many more next week, you will not do a nasal swab for 90 days. We have a list of exemptions. 90 days you will not do a nasal swab. Why? Well, every nasal swab you do between now and the end of that 90 days will come up positive. And then we'll have to do extra work to make sure that you are indeed negative, because that's the fault and the beauty of that test. So for those of you who are back, who at some point or another between the last 90 days and current have tested positive, don't take a PCR, you take the antigen test. And I think the last thing, before I get into just rules of the road, last thing is that talking about boosters and talking about uploading. We have had a few students who are identified as close contact, partially vaccinated, and when we talk to them, guess what they have in their hands? Or guess what they have access to? A vaccine card that shows they've had both vaccinations. They just never uploaded it. If you are one of those students still who are partially vaccinated but have fully vaxxed, please go into the Daily Pass and upload that. Take a picture of the card and upload that, okay? And then I also want to, remind you that today, if you're looking for that, if you're in line for that second dose, St. John's Wellness is around in our NPR today giving the second dose of the COVID vaccine, and they'll match you up with whatever you took. And I know that the district went strictly Pfizer, so and that's a 3-week turnaround. So if you are still waiting to get that second dose or wish to take a first dose, or you're ready for your booster, that's where you need to go. Tomorrow we're going to have a vaccine clinic all day. A baseline testing clinic all day here. That's for students and employees only. Baseline testing clinic from 8 to 4 here in the NPR for students and employees only. We're trying to get everybody back in school, and we still have some kids that are listed with no baseline test. So we're working on that as well. And finally, I mentioned about the boosters, and let me just give you the last thing, and this is really to, one, welcome you back. And two, I'm seeing a lot of the right masks. I'm seeing so many of the right masks. I'm not seeing them all worn correctly, but most of them are getting so close to where they should be. Remember to keep your nose and mouth covered at all times unless you're eating or drinking. And when I say eating or drinking, that means you're actively having lunch. You haven't finished, and you have that old plate sitting in front of you, and you haven't thrown it away yet, and we haven't called time for lunch, and you say, well, I'm still eating. And you've been observed kind of picking at it and doing nothing with it for 5 minutes. That's not eating, folks. That's just clocking time. And the same thing with drinking. You drink your water. I showed you months ago how I drink water under a mask. You just kind of poke it up underneath, you tip it, and you drop it down, and the mask comes back. And you could do that too. Continue to maintain your distances. Continue to wear your masks properly. Continue to wash your hands. And even when you're walking home with your friends and, you're all in the open air and it's all wonderful and everything is feeling like it's back to normal, They can understand you with your mask on, and you can understand them with their mask on. Just leave your mask on. I want to give you one more piece of the new bulletin, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and read this because that came out today. It said updated quarantine guidance for household close contacts. Individuals with a sibling or household member, that would be a brother or sister or a household member who tests positive, must remain at home for a minimum of 10 days following the date of the household member's positive test. And they begin their official quarantine period on the date that the positive individual is cleared to return to school or work. So you're out a minimum of 10 days. And then when that positive individual gets cleared, you then are into your quarantine period. Now, if you're fully vaxxed when you hit your quarantine period and you test with an antigen test and you test negative, you come back to school, okay? But the bottom line is, if you are feeling sick and your parent wants to keep you home, which we think is a good idea, call us. Let the office know so we can give you some good advice. If you're out on quarantine or you're going on quarantine, look at Schoology, look at your emails, listen for the phone calls from school because we're giving you dates to return and we're giving you information with which to come back. Okay? If you have any questions, my door is open. Actually, it's not open now. Those are the new policies. My door is available. I'm available. You knock on my door. I do want again to say to the close contact individuals who are fully vaxxed, thank you very much for being fully vaccinated. And 2, you are good. You're good to stay. You don't have to take any tests beyond the weekly tests we take. You just be aware of any symptoms that might arise. Okay? All right. Thank you for hearing me out. I know this is a lot of information. We're going to have a great semester. Oh, when Mr. Chavez comes back on Tuesday, thank him for those hoodies. You guys look great. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lepe, because that information was really important. Follow us on Instagram at gdsa.asb for other updates. And make sure that you guys are in the GDSA whole school group on Schoology. Or check the school website for important information.
On Monday, January 17, we have no school in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a day that is held each third Monday of January, honoring the achievements of Martin Luther King Jr.
A bit about him was that he was a Baptist minister and a civil rights leader who advocated for nonviolent resistance against racial segregation. One of his famous quotes goes like this: "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal."
And that's all for this week's announcements. We hope to see you in the next episode of our YouTube Live. And remember, it's the start of a new semester, which means new beginnings and new opportunities. And remember the 3 R's. Be respectful to everyone.
Be responsible for your actions.
And be ready to learn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.